to start, would you mind doing like a quick intro about yourself in case like people don't know you and who you are?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Liv. I grew up in Sydney, Australia, and I have just moved to the UK, to London about 3-4 weeks ago now. So yeah, I'm 20 years old and I've just moved by myself. So it's a lot going on in my life at the moment. I'm still trying to work everything out, but yeah, it's a bit about me.
So what were you doing in Australia? Like, was it kind of a gap year situation?
So in Australia, I've grown up there and then I've just moved over here for uni. So yeah, I spent 20 years in Australia. The last couple of years, I've just been working towards this move. Ideally, I would have liked to have come last year, but because of COVID, I
Right.
guess that's kind of, yeah, it wasn't really an option. So yeah, it was a long time coming, but I'm finally here. So
Yeah.
super
So
now.
why did you choose to go to London?
I was at UTS in Sydney when I first came out of high school. I wasn't entirely set on going, and I kind of wish that I didn't, but I now know that I didn't want to be there by going, which is good, I guess. But I got offered a place at the uni here. So I'm going to the University of Arts in London. I got offered a place and it seemed like a really cool opportunity. And I came over to have a look at the school, see what it was all about. And then, of course, fell in love with it and came back and I never went back to UTS. So
Oh,
I've just spent the last 2 years working pretty much to be able to come over here and, yeah, experience London.
cool. So how long did you spend at UTS?
One semester
Yeah.
or 1.5 semesters. And then when I came back from the UK, I was like, I'm never going back there. So
Wow.
yeah, it was definitely, yeah, I didn't really enjoy it that much, but yeah, I'm glad to be here now.
So what was your old degree like that you were doing in Australia?
So I was doing visual communications,
Okay.
which kind of is just like graphic design and like how we can use graphic illustration to get across a idea and
Yeah.
concept. In Australia, the kind of way the course set up is that everyone does the same thing. Like everyone has to do
Yeah.
the same thing from beginning to end. And there wasn't really much room for freedom in the way that you like designed or like expressed like different ideas. It was kind of like everyone had to do the same thing. Whereas here it seemed a lot more like you've got a lot more freedom to express your own sort of concepts a little bit more. And they're a lot more open to that than I feel
Yeah.
like in Australia, at least in my experience anyway.
Then what's your degree now? Like what are you studying at the moment?
So I'm studying art direction, which is a pretty niche course. There's nothing really like it in Australia, hence why I'm here. But it is kind of like creative direction in a sense, but it's a course. So you learn a little bit of each sort of design field, like a bit of graphic design, a bit of styling, photography, and you sort of have a broad understanding of everything. But then at the end of the day, you're sort of like the project manager, design projects, I guess. So you sort of oversee everyone, but you need to have an understanding of everyone's sort of role to be able to do that. So yeah, it's a pretty niche course, but it seems super interesting and I'm excited to get started on it.
Yeah. So how did you find out about it? Like, did someone tell you or how did you discover?
The way that I got into the uni was, I'm not sure how it's done in New Zealand, but we have our HSC here. And then I did art. And so when you submit all your final major works and your pieces, it then gets put towards sort of like a committee, and then they choose a certain amount of works that then go in sort of like their art express, which is the like traveling art show. I've just pretty much like selected artworks that maybe fit the theme of what they're like doing their galleries on and whatever. So I did a few drawings for my major work, and then they sort of reached out to those people. So they reached out to me and invited me for an interview. I went to an open day, heard about a few different courses, and this one really stood out to me. And then I went through the whole interview process, which was quite daunting because I didn't really know what I was applying for. But yeah, and then it sort of just all fell into place quite quickly.
Did you know anyone in London? Like, do you have any friends or family here, like there?
I have a half sister who is like we have a fair age gap between us. She's in her 40s, so we never really grew up together. But I am actually living with her at the moment. Very
Okay.
fortunately, she's
Yeah.
like let in her room just while I kind of get myself settled here, I guess. So yeah, she was a major reason why I was able to come over in the first place. But in terms of friends and like other family members, no, nothing. So
Okay.
I've quickly like met lots of people through mutual friends in like Sydney, being like, hey, I have a friend that lives there, you should go hang out with them. And then it's actually been really surprising how many people are like, I'm friends with this person who's friends with this person, like if you want to ever hang out. So it's been good, but it was definitely like a massive thing just coming here, and like there was no one to just be like, oh, do you want to go get coffee? Like yeah, I've just had to sort of work it out, which has been a challenge, but yeah.
Yeah. And how was the flight over?
Arguably the easiest flight ever. Like because when I went to Sydney Airport, we were the only flight going out. There was no other flights there. And usually it's like chaos, there's people everywhere, like it takes forever to check in and to get through customs and everything. But like half the lights weren't even on at the airport. Like it was literally something out of like apocalypse movie. It was insane. And then it took me, I went through, like checked in my bags, and then I went through customs by myself. There wasn't a single other person in customs, and all of duty free and all the restaurants were all closed. Like everything was closed. And because we were the only flight and there was only about 20 to 30 people on this flight, they didn't even do the announcement to tell us to come to the flight. They literally just walked out and they were just like, okay, we're boarding now, because there just like wasn't enough people to need to do it. So it was crazy. And like when I went through Singapore, and we didn't even stop. They just took us from one plane straight to the
Oh,
to the next. Like, we literally didn't even sit down or anything. We just cleared customs and then just walked straight on. So it was a very easy flight process, but it was kind of a little bit like, it was a very different experience to, I guess, what normally airports are like. It was quite scary.
Oh, cool. And then what was it like when you like got to London? Was there lots of people or not really?
Yeah, London was crazy busy because at the moment you can travel quite freely here between pretty much anywhere that's on a green or amber list, which is how they're ranking different countries for travel. So Australia's green list, so you don't have to quarantine or anything getting into London, but then amber lists, there's like a few different sort of restrictions, but
Yeah.
it was so busy there. It was like pretty much normal. Yeah, I just landed. They didn't do any sort of COVID screening or anything at the UK airport. Like they didn't even ask to see if we had like negative results. I think they just assumed that we got on the flight without it. So yeah, and the second I got out of the airport, I was allowed to take my mask off because there's no mandatory mask wearing in the UK. So yeah, it was a crazy, it was very different, like going from Sydney where we were in like full lockdown, it was like a ghost town, to everyone like just in masses. So it was insane.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. And do you need a visa to live there?
Fortunately, my dad is a UK citizen, so he grew up and was born here, so that meant that I have dual citizenship. So I got a British passport a couple of years back, which has meant that I don't need to apply for a visa. And seeing as I'm coming over for uni, I would be entitled to a student visa if I needed one. But yeah, I've been pretty lucky in that sense. It's made things a little bit easier.
And like with the fees and everything, do you get like student loans, or how does that work?
No, I don't think people realize how much of a difference there is between international and home student fees across like everywhere. Obviously, like going to UTS, it's like a pretty big uni in Sydney. A lot of people internationally come to it, and we definitely had students from like all over the world, and like I know that they were in the same boat, if not a bigger gap or like difference between the fees. I'm not entirely sure why they do it. I think maybe just to give the home students like a better opportunity to have like to take up more of the space. I'm not entirely sure, but for my first year anyway, you have to pay upfront each year as an international student. There's no sort of like hex sort of thing, or I don't know how they do it in New Zealand, but there's no sort of way of back paying it, or taking out the student sort of loan from them and then paying it back as you start earning money. It's upfront each year, which was like a massive thing for me because I'm funding this entirely by myself. So 1 year as a home student, it's £9,000, and 1 year as an international student, it's £22,500, which is roughly 42 or so thousand Australian dollars.
Like more than you would pay for your whole degree in New Zealand.
Yeah, so that was a major hurdle for me to sort of get over. Like seeing that amount of money leave my account when I paid it, I was like, did I just work like all this time for this? But I'm kind of just like having faith that it's the right decision. Like I've had this plan for coming on 3 years now, so I kind of just had to sort of separate myself from like the monetary value of the course and like the sort of resources and experience that I'm getting from it. And so try not to think about it. So
Yeah.
it's a crazy difference.
But at least I guess you don't have to worry about housing for now. Like
Yeah. I think one of the major reasons why I was even able to come, because I think knowing that I had to pay that each year up front, worry about rent and everything by myself, I think that it just wouldn't have been possible unless I had some sort of like family help, which at the moment I'm not. So yeah, I'm very fortunate that I'm able to stay here rent free for the moment. But I am sort of a little bit far out of London. It's like not far, but it's like 40 minutes to an hour, depending on the time. So I'm thinking it may become more worth it, like traveling, getting a place closer to central London instead of traveling each day.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. So when does your course start? Like, do you know?
Yeah, so that's in 2 weeks' time. They've got like a whole bunch of online degree sort of learning that you have to do. It's not, you don't have to do it, it's optional, but and then they've got some like online forums and stuff to sort of get everyone mingling. And then next week, which is weird because they're trying to do like contactless and like try and do a little bit of stuff remote. But then I've got like my freshers week, which is just like a week of clubbing at like all the biggest clubs like around London, which kind of just doesn't make sense to me. Like we're doing online during the day and then like in a mosh pit at night. So I don't understand sort of why, but yeah, I'm starting in 2 weeks.
Have like an idea of kind of jobs that you want, like or career paths afterwards?
Yes, so because it's quite niche, ideally I'd want to become an art director coming out of this, or a creative director, or in some sort of position where I have sort of like more of a say in the direction of a project rather than necessarily like little components of that. But I do understand that that is a position that you have to work up to. So I would end up going in as an entry level sort of like either PA or graphic designer, or doing sort of those little things and then moving my way up to it. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. I think the cool thing about this industry is that it's so like once you do one thing, you're so capable of then doing another position as well. So move around a lot and have a lot more freedom.
Cool.
In your career. Yeah.
So how long is the course?
It's 3 years. It's a 3-year course with the option to do masters, I believe. And then a cool thing that the UK offers, I'm pretty sure I get amongst most unis, is in your 3rd year, you have the option to extend your course for a year and do like a placement year. So your uni helps you find a placement, and our uni especially encourages students to do it internationally and like travel to sort of like major cities and do a year worth of working, and then you come back and do your 4th year of uni, which I think is like a cool opportunity. I guess when it comes to my 3rd year, I'll see if it's an option, but if there's the opportunity to go to like New York or something for a year and work, I'd be crazy not to. So yeah, we'll see how that goes, but for the moment it's 3 years.
So I guess like you're quite into traveling as well, do you have any favorite places that you've been so far?
Definitely, like Hawaii has just been my like happy place. I feel like it's just got a bit of everything. Like it's got the beach and it's got shopping, but it's like still super like laid back. I don't know, it's a really cool place. And then also London, like when I came here, I didn't expect to like it as much as I did. I was always pretty set on I wanted to move to America, and then I came here and I was like, wait, this place is kind of cool. So I've really enjoyed getting to like sort of explore London a little bit, I guess, and it's just it's a really cool place.
I visited London a couple years back. I just remember being super overwhelmed because like there's so many people like on the like underground and everything, and it was just like whoa.
Yeah, I know. I still feel like that. Like I'm trying to wrap my head around the trains, the underground, the buses and everything. And on my first like 2 weeks, I just felt like I was just like standing there, and I just like couldn't have my headphones in because it was just too much happening. I was just standing there looking around, and I was like, I have no idea where to go. Like, and there's no reception in the tube either. Like, there's no internet reception or anything. So when you're down there, it's just kind of like everyone's moving around. You're like,
Yeah.
I have no idea where I'm going. So definitely had to ask a lot of questions, but it's like a very super overwhelming place. But the other cool thing is if you get lost, like there's something happening in every part of London as well. So you can just stumble across something really cool, which is what I did for the first couple of weeks. I just would get off at a random stop and just like walk around that area. And there would be like cool things happening or just cool cafes open. And yeah, it's a very unique place in that sense.
Yeah. I feel like it's one of those cities that kind of grows on you. Like if you live there, then you'd experience it, like you'd enjoy it more than just being a tourist.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure because everyone I've spoken to, they're like, why would you come here? Like, I want to go to
Really?
Australia so bad. Like, Australia seems like such a cool
Yeah.
place. And I'm just, are you kidding? Like, this place is so much cooler. And they're like, I don't know. But I guess that's probably like with anyone's hometown, you just would feel like there's always better, like bigger, better things happening.
Like the grass is always greener.
Yeah, exactly.
Like them, they'll probably go to Australia and be like, oh, the beaches are so nice here. Like, why would you?
Yeah, I know. But I went to an English beach here the other day. And it was rocks.
It's like
it was rocks and like brown water, and there were like signs that were saying that they had like a sewage leak like a couple of weeks before, and the water wasn't like overly safe to swim in, and I was just like, this is not a beach. Like, it's funny.
At least like you're kind of close to Europe, like you go to like Spain or France or I don't know, like nicer places for the summer.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's something that I'm definitely looking forward to next year. This year has been a little bit, it's still a bit touch and go with COVID. Like they seem to be changing sort of restrictions and everything quite like quickly. And I sort of came in at the end part of summer. So I didn't really get much of a chance to sort of organize going anywhere, but it's definitely something I'm looking forward to maybe over Christmas or next year. So we'll see.
Yeah, I guess moving on now towards your YouTube channel, which is like how I kind of found out about you. So what made you want to start making videos?
Well, this time last year, I mean, not this time last year, maybe like whenever I started it last year, I think it was like March, April. I thought I was moving to the UK. Like I had everything in line to move in July last year. And then we went into lockdown and everything, and I stopped earning. I had no income for about 4 months, and coming over here just seemed very daunting, knowing that they were in complete lockdown and I'd be sort of moving countries and then just being by myself, which ended up being for like 10 months they were in lockdown, and then over Christmas and everything, and it seemed super isolating. So I made the decision to stay an extra year, which was super hard, but I had started it with the intention of then being able to sort of bring it along with my move and sort of show my move. And then when we were in lockdown and everything, I sort of tried it for a bit and then realized like, there's actually nothing interesting going on in my life at the moment. Like everyone's in lockdown, everyone's doing the same thing every day. I don't really want to be putting out content that I'm like, I wouldn't want to watch. I wasn't inspired watching or creating. So then a month ago now, I think I started it back up. I was actually moving, and I think a lot of my friends and family were kind of like, we're in lockdown, can you please like pick up your YouTube, or can you please post more on Instagram, because I want to see what you're doing, because we're not doing anything. So this weird like dynamic of like, I was like, I don't really want to like be showing all my friends and stuff that I'm like out and like living, but they're like, please, like I want to see what London's like and what life's like over there, because I didn't know anyone that had moved over here. So I guess it's like for a lot of my friends and family back home, it was quite interesting, and like I'm really enjoying filming it as well. And my mum and sister send me photos watching it from home, so it's like they're still with me, I guess. So that's why I kind of started it. And if not for anyone else, like for myself to kind of look back on, like even in 12 months time, to just be like, oh my god, like I forgot that I did all that, like I forgot that I like what it was like moving. So yeah, that's kind of why I started it again.
Cool. Yeah, exactly. I think even for me, like when I look back on my old videos, even though it's like cringy, they're still like memories, can still like reminisce.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the favorite one that I've ever made was when I went to Byron with my like closest friends, and we like all still watch it. Like we'll all just randomly be bored one night and just watch it, and we're like, wow, I forgot how much fun we had on that trip. And it's just like, it's such a cool like keepsake almost to be able to watch back what we did and just like re-experience it. So hopefully I'll be able to make like more travel sort of stuff and things with friends and stuff that I meet here that we can all like enjoy together and be a bit more of like we can look back on and enjoy rather than like what I ate in a day kind of thing. So
yeah
no,
I think I saw that video. Is that when you got the tattoo?
yeah. So like literally now we were all watching it. I think I've watched it so many times just because we all got so much joy. Like we had the best time when we were there, and it was like right before we went into a lockdown, the last time we were all sort of like all together and just like COVID free, like living, like having so much fun. So yeah, it was definitely like my favorite video to film.
Do you have any advice for someone maybe like almost like say straight out of high school or like early 20s and they want to like go abroad and travel or move to another country? Like, do you have any advice for someone in that position?
Can't stress enough, just do it. Like it is so daunting. I feel like it's so daunting thinking about like going somewhere, especially by yourself. Like if you don't know anyone, I can only like I know firsthand that you just have no idea how it's going to turn out. But at the end of the day, you can always go home. Like you can always fly home, but like you will never know unless you try. Like, I think there's a better time in your life. Like I still have the comfort, I guess, in the back of my head that I can go home if it just didn't work out. I've still got my mom and sister and friends and family at home that I can go back to. But I also am not in like a position in my life where I have lots of responsibilities and finding a full-time job and everything. I think it's the perfect time to sort of travel, and then you can always go back home. I think that's definitely. And you learn so much about yourself. Like I have never spent so much time just with my own thoughts, like walking around, and like you learn so much about yourself, and it just really pushes you to go outside of your comfort zone. I don't think I've ever been in a position in my life where I've like actively had to try to make friends. Like you go to preschool, school, you do sport, you do extracurricular sort of things, and you're always surrounded by people that you have to talk to. Whether you choose to or not, it's up to you, but like there's always people that you can make friends with. You're here, and like I'm not at uni yet, I don't have a job, like I have to sort of be the one to start it. So I think it's definitely a massive like personal growth thing. So I can't stress enough, I think everyone should travel, or at least study abroad, or at least travel.
Yeah, definitely. I did like an exchange program when I was in high school.
Where did you go?
I went to Italy. And
wow.
Yeah, like it sounds cliche, but literally life-changing, eh?
Yeah. How long were you there for?
I lived there for 10 months, so it was a while.
Oh my gosh, that's a long time.
I know. And
were you learning Italian?
I barely spoke any when I got there, but you kind of have to like otherwise you don't like, you just don't talk, or you can't talk to anyone. But yeah, that's pretty much it for today. Thanks so much for answering all my questions.
No, thank you for having me and giving me the opportunity.
No worries. I'll leave your YouTube and Instagram and everything in the description so everyone can go follow you and follow your adventures.
Thank you so much.
Good luck for the studies and everything.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.